Hi YouTubers, it's the West of the Lake Region Cadillac Club, and we're back with another how-to video. We were away for about 6 months. No, we weren't in prison, although that's not a completely bad guess. We had shoulder surgery, and now we're back and ready to play with our cars again. Today, we're working on a 1976 Cadillac Sedan DeVille, although this repair will be relatively the same on any rear-wheel drive Cadillac of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. This time, we're going to fix that pesky transmission fluid leak that comes from the front of the drive shaft, especially if you haven't driven your car for a while. There's a metal and rubber seal on the output shaft of the transmission that seals on the drive shaft. Stick around to the end for an important tip on making sure this doesn't happen again. First up, if you don't have a lift, and who does, you'll want to lift up the back of the car. Not only is it easier to work with the rear lifted, but the transmission fluid will obey the law of gravity and flow forward into the pan rather than rearward onto your garage floor. Position your floor jack directly under the bell of the differential and raise the car up enough to get under it and work comfortably. Place your jack stands under the rear axle close to the wheels for the most support. Gently lower the jack until the axle rests on the jack stands. Then raise the jack until it just touches the differential for a little extra security. Now it's time to remove the 4 bolts that hold the rear of the drive shaft to the differential. You'll need a fairly large handled wrench to do this job because these bolts are going to be tight. Don't be surprised if you need to heat the bolts with a little MAP gas to loosen them up. After you loosen the bottom 2 bolts, you'll need to put the car in neutral and spin the drive shaft to get access to the other 2 bolts. Now that the bolts are out, it's going to take a little persuasion to push the drive shaft forward so the lip on the U-joint comes out of the differential. With the rear of the drive shaft on the ground, you're now ready to move to the front of the shaft and gently pull it out of the transmission. You can now start the process of removing the old seal from the transmission. You'll want to have the new seal on hand before you start removing the old one so you can see how it works. The seal is pressed into place, and you'll need to pry it out using whatever means works best for you. Just be careful not to damage or scratch the inside of the transmission output shaft. If you gouge that, it'll leak for sure. Once the old seal is out, prep the drive shaft for the new seal. It's likely that the reason the old seal leaks is because the car sits too long between drives. That causes corrosion on the shaft on the edge of the seal, and that corrosion allows fluid to seep out.
So what do we see?
So you can see the kind of the 2 seal points here, and you can see kind of grubbiness on here.
We're using 2000 grit followed by 1000 grit sandpaper to remove the corrosion and create a nice smooth surface for the new seal. Then we use high-tack gasket sealant on the drive shaft where the seal will sit. Install the new seal using a block of wood with a hole drilled in it so it slips over the output shaft.
You kind of get this just in place. You
Right.
normally put a block on here, but because this is sticking out, the block's going to interfere.
So what do you do?
So you need something that goes around this that's got a hole in here.
Is there a tool for that?
You know, you can make your own tools. And what I've got is that. And that fits over that.
There.
With the seal in place, we finish up by rubbing a little transmission fluid on the rubber part of the seal, just like you would do on an oil filter gasket. Now we're ready to put the front of the drive shaft back into the transmission. Then lift the rear of the drive shaft and position it against the differential. Put the 4 bolts in and save the final tightening until all 4 bolts are seated. Torque the bolts down one at a time until they're tight and you're ready to take the car off the jack stands. If you've done the job right, you will have solved that pesky transmission fluid leak. To make sure it never returns, you use that sandpaper to polish the corrosion off the drive shaft, but most importantly, drive your car. You aren't doing your car any favors by not using it. You need to drive your car several times per year to keep everything lubricated and fresh. These rubber seals work best when they work. The same thing with your power accessories. Run the power windows, move the power seats, raise and lower the antenna, run the air conditioning, operate all the knobs and switches. You aren't hurting the car by using it. You're keeping it young and fresh. It's a car, not a veal calf. A little exercise is good for it. We're the West of the Lake Region Cadillac and LaSalle Club in the Chicago area. We make these videos to help you fix your classic Cadillac if you want to do it yourself or if you can't find a mechanic willing to work on older cars. Please like and subscribe to our videos. The more you subscribe, the more videos we can produce. If you have any questions or would like us to make a video showing how to repair something on your car, please drop us an email at westofthelakeCLC@gmail.com or leave a comment below. We'll do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.